Peace, everybody. Welcome back. It's Randomly Selected, powered by the Silver Room. My name is Mario, and we appreciate you plugging in today. I was trying to think of something appropriate. Plugging in today. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. On today's program, we welcome in Tonika Johnson. Man, listen, photographer, artist, activist. I've known Tonika a long time. This was a very important episode for me personally, and she is amazing, and you're going to get a chance to find out for yourself in a few moments. One of the things I wanted to know is what got her started with photography, and was what she was seeing through her lens propelling her activism. We got that. We got a whole bunch of stuff today. It's Randomly Selected, powered by the Silver Room. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Tonika Johnson. Tonika Lewis Johnson. Tony,
hey.
Welcome to Randomly Selected, my friend.
Hey,
how are
I'm happy to be here.
You don't know how good it is to see your face.
Oh,
this is
it's so
cool.
good to see you too.
You've always, I've known you a long time.
Yes, since 14, 15, Lit X.
Wow. For the
Me sneaking in there.
Yeah, man. Us not knowing how old you were, because I'm sure me or Tina or Kendall or somebody would have been like, "Why are you in here?"
Yes, Tina did. And
yeah, because I know she
definitely did.
I do know that. That's
but
right.
you know, y'all was like, all right, well, y'all can't do surf stuff, but y'all can be here.
Yeah. There was no drinking or anything crazy.
Yes, you made sure.
We took care of y'all to make sure when you went home, your parents would be like, "What happened?
Exactly.
Where were you again?"
No, y'all
we had to remain clandestine.
Yeah,
at that time.
I understand. I understand.
You are an amazing human being. Before we go all off into all this dopeness that you have created and all these different projects and this ability to bring the city together that a lot of people have not been able to do, but somehow you were able to do it. Oh yeah.
You giving me too much credit.
No. It's not no. Who else would have thought to do a project called Folded Map? To be able to bring people from all over the city together just based on their address. Who else would have thought of that? You thought of it. And it was all based off of your photography, which I'm the most interested in still. Your eye is really good. I don't remember a time. I mean, I used to see you with a camera like all the time.
Right.
But I don't remember a time where seeing a picture of yours, I was like, that's a weird looking photograph.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, what got you interested in photography?
Oh, So I've always been into the arts, little weirdo art kid. But 8th grade, that's when I found out about Young Chicago Authors. That was like their third year, like being around. And so it was a writing program, scholarship based. You remember that? And so I started going to their Saturday program, and then they start offering photography classes.
Yep.
And after that, Bob Boone had to try and remind me to write, because
you were the photographer.
I was like, oh no, this is it. I love this. They put that Pentax K1000 in my hand.
Yes,
I was off. I didn't write not one poem for a long time.
Yeah, I remember the poems you wrote too. Those were good ones.
Oh, thank you.
But you parlayed the photography into activism. Was it a matter of you from you seeing things through that lens that you decided, well, maybe I can alter some of these outcomes that I'm seeing, and taking all these great photos of Inglewood, where you proudly are from?
Hey.
was seeing what you were seeing through that lens, did that propel the idea of you being an activist?
That's a good question. What's interesting is I didn't consider myself like an activist, and I didn't really understand.
Because I was going to ask if you even liked that term.
I mean, I receive it. Yeah. I accept it. And, I understand the title, and, I don't mind it. But I didn't really grasp the value of the photography that I was doing, because it was, I mean, we from here. Like, this is just, we taking pictures of like where we hang out, friends that we're around, places that we grew up, places that we go. And so it wasn't until like I would say the mid 2000s, really close to the 2016 presidential election year.
Okay.
That's when I was like, people really think bad about Chicago, and they don't know how dope it is. They don't know how they have a horrible idea of neighborhoods that, you know, we are from. Mm-hmm. Creatives, really dope, amazing, smart, black and brown people who live here. And I got pissed off.
Right.
So that's when I was like, no, I actually have images that can be used to change that narrative. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I really it started to click a little bit. But up until that point, you know, the stuff that I was doing in the community, I didn't think of as like activism. I was just like, oh, well, you know, I moved back to my home neighborhood in Inglewood as a homeowner. So I was like, all right, I got to get to know it in a different way. Yeah. So I just got involved. And so all of that kind of came together right before the presidential election year.
I think, not to interject so much of my opinion on that, but I think people who are activists never refer to themselves as activists. The idea is to how can I fix this to make this right?
Exactly.
And that's just how
exactly
you should approach it. I think people who are like, I'm an activist, I always kind of look at them as like roadside preachers.
No, I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like our little creative community, it just cultivated like problem solvers.
Exactly.
So it's natural for us. But I get why people say that though, because we don't think of it that way.
Right.
But
when you're in the midst of it, you're not really
no.
All right, time for me to be an activist today.
Exactly. It's just our interest. It's like what we were bred to think about and problem solve and be creative about it. So it's just natural.
In this part of our interview, we talk about how she feels about being labeled an activist. We also talk about R.A.G.E and her role in it, how it started. We also ask her if she was to tell an outsider about Inglewood, what would she say versus what the popular perception is, and how the media continues to regenerate the horrible perception of Inglewood. Tonika, your turn.
R.A.G.E is an amazing organization. It's the baby of Aisha Butler.
Yes.
So it's about
the boss. Her and her husband are so cool.
Oh, they are. They are. And so she had this idea to start a resident organization in Inglewood, because she knew other young homeowners, people who were interested in doing stuff in the community. Her and I met prior to her really putting this idea together, because we were doing some youth programming stuff together. And so that's when she asked me if I could, you know, join her and the other co-founders to really think through what this could be. And when she said R.A.G.E, Resident Association of Greater England, I was like, oh, that's it. That's dope. Yeah, right. I'm in.
Right.
So it really is just an organization of residents. So kind of like a condo association, you know, that's really what it is, but for Greater Englewood, because we're so divided by aldermanic wards, and because people who live in Englewood sometimes only see what they're even told about Englewood. You know, they don't know it's other people who care about the neighborhood or, you know, being just a decent resident, because it's really no gathering space where people could, you know, meet who have those similar interests. So Aisha's idea was, let's just create a group, because we all are here. We just need a space and an opportunity to come together. And that's really what she did. And it's really allowed all of us to meet people we might not have met, you know, and might not have found out was from our neighborhood until later. Because, you know, when I think about just even high school and Columbia College, when I went there, I met dope people from Inglewood away from Inglewood. And I was like, man, if we could have met when we were children, who would have,
knows?
exactly. So that's basically what R.A.G.E is at the core, but they do all kinds of things in the community, and really it's activated by members who have a particular interest. So I was interested in doing youth stuff, so that's what I did.
Did we all got the same televisions for the most part, watch the news all the time.
We have same lives.
Right. Inglewood is one of the 7 or 10 neighborhoods that they tend to talk about on the news every night.
I know.
It was a time when it was really a situation.
Yeah.
In Inglewood and in South Shore and Auburn Gresham and all
Roseland and
all
Austin.
the 10 neighborhoods.
Right.
Inglewood still has its issues, but if you were telling somebody that didn't live in Chicago that's listening to this program about the Inglewood they hear about and the Inglewood you actually live in, right? What are the why is it that picture continues to be painted about Inglewood when I know and you know that neighborhood has changed? An incredible amount of change has happened in the neighborhood.
Well, gun violence has a chokehold
on this whole city. Yeah, no doubt.
Exactly. So when you're dealing with that kind of issue, you can't minimize it. It exists. It's for real. However, the reality is, it is exaggerated though. The perception of it is completely exaggerated, and it would take me being involved with R.A.G.E and actually talking to police officers, having them explain statistics for me to truly understand how much of an exaggerated fear it is. The gun violence, let's just use Greater Inglewood for example. The gun violence that's there, it's only like a small percentage, 5% that's gang involved. They said majority of gun violence just in the city, but Greater Inglewood is interpersonal. It's like arguments just people have, and they happen to have a gun. And they said a lot of that is actually domestic. So once they broke that down, I was like, oh yeah, they really like painting an incorrect narrative. And so that narrative of just gang violence and gun violence being so rampant throughout the whole entire neighborhood that part is incorrect. And so you have to like educate people so that they can understand, no, it's hot spots like any neighborhood, and especially Greater Inglewood is like the 3rd largest neighborhood in Chicago, Inglewood and West Inglewood together. So people don't even understand that there is no possible way gun violence can be happening in over 6 square miles all day, all the time. Like that's just,
you would think though.
Yeah, but that is exactly what people think. They don't know, okay, it's just hot spots. And it moves. And there are places that have cool spots, so it's both and so I think just the impact of gun violence and people actually losing their lives is really hard to like express to people that it's not that big of like, no, it is.
Right.
It is. Right. However, it is not as rampant as the media portrays it. It really, truly isn't. It can feel that way because there are people who are losing their lives. But the reality is, it's not.
If you had a chance to talk to the news programmer of, let's say, a ABC or NBC or CBS, and then sit with them or even bring them into Inglewood,
which that is actually happening.
See, it's because I know
that's actually happening. Look, let me see what date that's happening. I think it's next week.
Really?
On the let me see. Where
are they coming to like scout out the neighborhood with you?
They're coming to Inglewood. They invited me on a panel. It's some reporters from different media outlets. They want to like have a panel discussion with the residents and really talk about the narrative of the neighborhood, what the role and responsibility of the media is, where they get it wrong. So that is actually happening. I hate that I cannot.
No, it's all right.
But either way, yes,
It's happening.
It's happening.
So I'm a reporter for. That would never happen.
Yeah.
But I'm a reporter, and I'm coming to your town, to your side of town.
Yeah.
What are you showing me first?
Oh, what am I showing you first? Well, first off, I'm gonna show you my home.
Okay.
That's.
Which I'm sure it's a gigantic castle.
No, it's not.
It's not? Wrong again.
It's not a gigantic castle. But that's actually what I do when people, when reporters want to talk to me. I invite them to my home because that's the part that they don't see. Not only the larger public, but like reporters. Like, you're not coming to my house because some violent crime happened. And when you meet people through that lens, through that kind of story, you know, it really does influence how you think of, you know, them or where they live. You know, it's more sympathetic. And when you're coming to talk to me, it's just more on a personal, just let me get to know you. So it's not bogged down with kind of all of that, those hard issues. So you get to see the neighborhood in a different way because you're coming to my house. So that's the first thing that I would do. And so that people can also meet my neighbors. Like, yes, it's other people just like me because in this neighborhood. And you wouldn't have known because who's going to invite you just to come to their house? Right. If you come as a reporter, you're covering something, and it's usually something bad. So that's the first place I would take them. And then I would roll on over to Inglewood Branded.
There you go. There you go.
I would go there so that they could meet Corey. Right. And then they would be like, oh, so y'all know each other. Like, yeah, I know him. This is my friend. And this is like the first apparel store like that is really just Inglewood branded. And so I would take them there. And then, of course, we will make a stop at R.A.G.E.
You have to.
R.A.G.E. office so that they can meet Aisha and Butler and learn about the impact and influence of R.A.G.E. And then I would take them to the block that I grew up on. Yeah, just so they can see why I defend my neighborhood the way that I do, so that they can understand, this is the block I grew up on. You see why I don't see Inglewood the way you do? Right. Like, the grass is still very much manicured. The buildings are still beautiful. The people who I grew up with still live over there. So that's what I would do. I would take them to see that. And
that's that perception of Chicago that even reporters who aren't from here have. They're like, Inglewood, it must be dangerous. I gotta be careful. We have to make sure we got cops. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. It doesn't lend itself to what's really happening in your neighborhood or in South Shore or in Auburn Gresham, Hyde Park, West Inglewood. The narrative of the city for people who don't live here, you would think that people ride on horses, tie their horse up, go into a saloon, kick the swinging doors open, and start shooting on the street.
When my white friends
here we go
say, when they go out of town and they say they're from Chicago and people start asking them about gun violence, now you know it's just like, come on, y'all.
Exactly.
Like, y'all really can't understand Chicago at all if this is the first question that you're asking a white person from here. Like, that already indicates you don't understand Chicago.
So I'm wondering, did all of those things that we just talked about inspire Folded Map Project? Did you catch any flack when you started the project? Let's find out.
Yes, all of that motivated me to do Folded Map, but it was really the misperception of Chicago because of the 2016 presidential election year, because I was like, oh, this is like international. People are thinking this now. Yeah. Like, I have a friend in France who was like, oh my gosh, Chicago is, I'm like, okay, yes, we have issues with gun violence, but this presidential election year is really messing y'all up. Yeah. It's not like this Chirac is what they were saying at the time.
And I want to talk to you about that too.
Okay, yeah.
Because
So
I know, yeah.
I don't like that.
I know.
So it was that, and then also me thinking about my experience in high school, and and the fact that it's Lane Tech, but really what it was a diverse place, and it was no racial hierarchy because then the schools were actually curating the racial demographic.
Exactly.
Like they wanted to have equal percentage of each race
Exactly.
to reflect, what the city looked like. So really going to a school like that in the 90s, you got to experience what I feel is like the beauty of Chicago in a way that most adults who live here don't even get to experience it. So once I started thinking about what was happening 2016 and then comparing that to my high school experience, I was like, no, like, I want to do something to help people understand that we're divided, but there's so many creative, dope ways that Chicagoans disrupt segregation all the time. And we don't get enough credit for the spaces that we create where diversity does exist, especially in the arts.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it took me becoming an adult to finally be the only Black person in a predominantly white space. Like, I had never experienced that, and people just have a really weird perception.
Quite
of
the
Chicago.
rush, ain't it?
It's crazy. I was like, how I live in Chicago this whole time, and everyone thinks it is very segregated.
It is super. Yeah,
but
yeah.
We do disrupt segregation a lot. So that's what inspired me because I was like, no, I want people to have a pathway to understand how family Chicago feels. Like you and I, for example, I've literally known you.
Here we go.
Damn near my whole entire life.
Yeah, right.
And that's really what Chicago is. It's a big, small place. And if you just figure out ways to help people understand that they connected, then maybe they could vibe with it, So my way of doing that was, let me just use the map. Like, y'all are neighbors. Y'all just distant neighbors.
Yeah.
Because you do live on the same street. We have the same streets that run the whole north and south of Chicago. And so I just wanted people to have an opportunity to feel how I felt growing up in Chicago in the 90s, like not just Lane Tech, but experiencing going to other neighborhoods that you were told you shouldn't go to.
Yeah.
I mean, Wicker Park.
That'd be Cabrini Green for me.
Oh,
Don't
see,
go to Cabrini Green.
whatever generation they had like that, a neighborhood you shouldn't go to. And then also places that they basically made us feel like we weren't going to be welcomed. And Wicker Park was that place.
Really?
And then when I went and met y'all and
and
saw Lit X, I was like, this is my tribe.
Yeah, man.
They were trying to keep me from my tribe.
Yes, they were.
But you have to go to other you have to go to other neighborhoods, not just Black people go to North Side.
Right.
Like, no, we all got to get out of our neighborhoods, and so we can appreciate the value of our own neighborhoods, but also meet dope people that you probably wouldn't get connected to if you just stayed where
When you started the project, did you catch? And I mean, I know you had to have caught a little bit of like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to bring people together? Why are you trying to bring the city together?
Well, what's very interesting is the kind of pushback I got. I had to very often correct people, like when I would do presentations about it or talk about it. It was a group of our folks who basically interpreted my project as, me being on some old white integration, gentrification promoting type thing.
That's bullshit.
Well, I know, but they were just, I definitely got questions from some older, maybe, what's the word I would call them? I wouldn't even say pro-Black as I am. But anyway, they were saying, we should be able to have predominantly Black, beautiful spaces. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have that too. I'm just saying the reality is we live in a diverse city. We're not the only ones here.
Right.
And we should have neighborhoods that are just as diverse for options for people who want that. If you want to live in a neighborhood where people look like you only, that's fine. And you should be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And it should be amenities in those neighborhoods so you can have that. But there are people in this city, and you're not going to deny my reality, who enjoy diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, but
for sure.
Some people don't understand that. Like, they actually think, like, our tribe of people who appreciate that don't really represent Chicago. Like, they try to push down that reality. And so my work was helping me get introduced to people who have not operated like we have.
Right.
Like, they just didn't.
What, and there are projects that have come about because of Folded Map. Yeah. If we were to make a tree, Folded Map would be the top of the tree.
Right, that's the mama.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a universe. It's a universe.
Even better. It's a universe. What are some of the other planets in that solar system of Folded Map that you've created?
So, several. The one that immediately happened after Folded Map is a Folded Map action kit. Mm-hmm. That's one of them because so many people wanted to participate in the project. Like, I want to find my map twin. And I was like, yo, I'm not going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I meant like actually facilitating it. I was like, no, I got some other projects I want to do. So I was like, no, but people really, I wanted to like capture their passion about it. So I was like, I need to create something to help people do it themselves. And so that they can send me something if they do. So that was a Folded Map action kit. And then I also decided to start Folded Map or formalize Folded Map into a nonprofit. So there's that. Mm-hmm. Folded Map is now a nonprofit, which serves as a fiscal agent for a tangential Folded Map thing, which is the Inglewood Arts Collective.
Mm-hmm. Look at you, tangential.
Trying to use that little vocabulary. Is that the right word?
Yes, it is. You are on the path, my friend.
And then there is my project Don't Go, which was a response to me, my social media. I kind of use that for inspiration and to stay connected to people. And I posted something about a clip of a presentation I did where a group of Northwestern freshmen, I asked them, how many of you all have been told to not go to the South Side? Everybody raised their hand. And so I told the students, well, therein lies the issue. That's also how segregation is perpetuated. And so when I shared that on social media, people like responded and was like, I get told to not go, and people were responding saying they get mad when they hear that. So I was like, there's something there. So I did a project where I interviewed basically 30 people, majority white and mostly transplants. Some are black and brown from Chicago, but about places they have been told to not go and what happened when they went. And so that's actually being worked on as a book with my Folded Map partner, Dr. Maria Creason, who helped me formalize it into a nonprofit. So hopefully that'll be a book. Yeah. We're working on that now. And then there's my project Belonging, which is about youth in the city who are racially profiled, basically, but it's their stories. I interviewed them, got their audio of them explaining the locations where they have been racially profiled, and then I photographed them there. So that is a project that's actually being exhibited now at UIC, but because of the pandemic and, it's not getting a lot of foot action. What's the word?
Foot traffic.
Foot traffic. That's the yeah. It's not getting a lot of that because they haven't sorted out how to invite the public with all of the pandemic restrictions. So that's Belonging. And then my current project, Inequity for Sale.
As we wrap this up, we talk about Inequity for Sale, her latest project, and the whole vibe on what it is. Tonika, what is it?
So folded map, for me, helped people like visualize what disparity looks like as a result of historic segregation and basically racism. But I wanted to do a project that helped people connect like the impact of all of these racist systems to today. Because sometimes, you know, when we read reports and we hear about even just the word redline, like it just sounds old, and a lot of people can't connect to how it really influences their life today.
Right.
And so I wanted to make that very clear. Like, no, it's not just Black people, brown people who are negatively impacted. Like we're all impacted by the racist policies that happen. And I want to show it to you. So in 2018, this Duke report came out called The Plunder of Black Wealth in Chicago. And they were talking specifically about land sale contracts. Like redlining is one thing. That's how we got segregated and shoved into certain neighborhoods. But the discriminatory housing practices, that's what basically deteriorated our neighborhoods. Like they put us in these neighborhoods and then wouldn't give us loans, more like federally backed mortgages.
Right.
And so our people came here. They didn't actually come here poor, like, you know, they want us to believe.
Again, that perception.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
They came here ready to start a life. They had money. They you know, they weren't like just uneducated, unskilled workers. No, our grandparents, they had some money saved up. They was coming here to get houses and jobs. They was ready.
Some of them were existing under that GI Bill too.
Yes.
That ended up not working for them.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. So the misperception that, they just came here and they just didn't. No, they came here with a plan and they got ripped off. And so the report is basically demonstrating all of that. And they put a number behind, and this has never been done before. They put a number behind how much money was basically stolen from specifically Black families in Chicago in the 50s and 60s through land sale contracts.
And how much was it?
Close to $4 billion.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So when I read that, because that came out in 2018, the same year that Folded Map debuted as a exhibit. And so people were sending me this report like, oh, is this connected to the report? Like, I don't know why. I get it. And so that's what alerted me to this report. And so then I started going through like, this is it. This is the answer to the question I was even asking myself. Like, when was Greater Inglewood's home ownership rate ever higher? Because I've always heard about it being low, like my whole life. But I remember, you know, thinking people owned their homes when I was growing up because they was taking care of it. So I was just like, what is the disconnect? Like, everybody always talking about how low the home ownership rate is in Inglewood and other Black neighborhoods.
Right.
Like, when was it ever higher? And this report was the reason why it has never been significantly higher, because it started off with people not owning homes that they thought they owned. And so when I read that report, I connected with the people who did the report and actually this docuseries that corresponds with the report. And I befriended the lead researcher and was like, can I get them addresses?
Nice.
You know, because they had done all of this research to do the report, but they didn't have any they weren't doing anything with the actual addresses because they know all of the homes in Chicago that were sold on land sale contracts. And so they had a map of all of the homes in Greater Inglewood. And I was like, that's a lot of homes. So it explained, like, just for me, I was learning. It explained why Inglewood is the way that it is. And so I asked for those addresses and I started driving around and I'm like, yo, this house abandoned and it's still here. Oh, this is a vacant lot. Like, this was literally the connection to the 50s and 60s. A lot of those homes were now vacant lots. A lot of those homes were the abandoned homes that's been in the neighborhood that I didn't like nobody knows why homes are abandoned. We just assumed, oh, the housing market crashed at the 2000. No, this is evidence of of like the crime that was committed, but we didn't know. So once I got that information, it made sense for me to do something with it. And it really made sense for it to be right after Folded Map. Because my interest was directing me to this information. So that's what Inequity for Sale is. I'm going to be creating landmarkers for a collection of 15 of those homes.
I see. I think you've done a few of them already, right?
Yes. So one of them is actually in front of my house now because it had to get tested for the weather conditions because this isn't like a city sanctioned landmark.
Right.
This like renegade style, but still going to be very, very classy and very artistic. So
I know I'm sure it will
exactly. So we had to make sure it wasn't going to break. It wasn't. So the fabricator made this amazing landmarker that was designed by my friend Paula Aguirre. And so it has like a 300-pound cement base, and so it's in front of my house so that we could see how it's going to withstand during the winter, because the goal is to eventually do as many of them as we can. But in order to like do that, we got to make sure that the like materials and everything can last. So that's why it's in front of my house. But in a couple of weeks, we're going to relocate it in front of the actual address. And then the next two are being fabricated right now. So then after that, we have the rest of them to do. And so by the spring, summer, they'll all be installed, which was the goal, so that people can, if they want to do a little walking tour, they can, because I selected the homes on a block that has homeowners that care. And I wanted people to come to the neighborhood, use the project as an invitation to come to Inglewood and to actually get connected to history in a way that they weren't going to get connected to in a museum. And then to also meet residents and people. Like, it's people who plant flowers in front of their homes and they live on a block that has 3 vacant lots and 2 abandoned homes. Like, that's not fair. And so now their house, the value of their home goes down because of this that's connected to history. And that's not fair. And so I want people to understand that. Like, you're coming to see this house that was stolen from this family in the 50s and 60s and is still here, either abandoned or vacant, on the same block as current homeowners. And as a result of this vacant lot being here and this abandoned home, now these residents, the value of their home is going down. So I wanted people to really like understand that.
And real quick, that's to encourage people to start to reinvest and to rebuild on those vacant lots if they can?
I mean, it's to help people just reimagine like how we need to care about our city. Like, just because it's in Inglewood doesn't mean you're not impacted. Like, this is all interconnected. Just because it happened in the 50s and 60s doesn't mean it's not impacting us today. It is. And the truth of the matter is we all should care about neighborhoods like Inglewood, the black neighborhoods that aren't being invested in, because why would you not want all of Chicago to be a destination place? Why do you want to just be crammed on the north side in certain pockets? Like, no, this is affecting all of us. We should all have more options where we should live.
Exactly.
We should all have more options to hang out in different neighborhoods. There's no reason that a world-class city like Chicago don't have a strip like New Orleans, right? Like, that's crazy. So I really just want people to understand that it's all connected. It's all connected. You shouldn't have neighborhoods where you can't go to, and that's all of us. So that's really what I want people to take away from it. And the end game, though.
Yes.
Now, because this project going to be rolling out in several phases. So the installation of the landmarks, that's just one phase.
Right.
Couple of end games. One, I want the project itself to be used, or the possibility of it to be used as evidence for our city to talk about reparations. Like, it's literally exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Like, you have the report. you actually have an art project that's showing you. You have residents who were impacted by this. You have a whole neighborhood that was affected by this. So yeah, and it's not just Greater Inglewood. That's just my home neighborhood, and I wanted to use that to help people to understand. But the West Side was the epicenter of the land sale contracts. Those people, it's literally the reason the West Side is the way it is. Those people lost their homes that they thought they owned. And so it's no coincidence that the neighborhoods that had the most land sale contract homes are the exact neighborhoods that's reported on the news now. So the end game is to hopefully have this project help any kind of reparations work in Chicago, because we do have a reparations subcommittee in Chicago now. And, you know, Evanston did their thing. Like, we helped the country, like, understand how to bake in systemic segregation into real estate. So why wouldn't we be the city to help the country, like, disrupt it and fix it? And then, just more personal, I want to actually be able to purchase one of the land sale contract homes and have it renovated into an art space, like a throwback of LitX. You know?
Look at you.
Someplace we could go hang out and people can have a beautiful space to rent for, whether it's a baby shower or a party or a poetry reading or whatever. Just a nice spot to come to in Inglewood to meet people who are like-minded. So that's the end game, and I hope that can happen one day.
In 2019, I think it was, you were the recipient of the Mario Smith Voice of the People Award.
Yes, so proud, so proud. It put me on the path to this moment here.
Good Lord. I think the reason why it was important that you won that second one was because you are really the voice of the people, man. And you're bringing our city together, whether it wants to come together or not. And these projects that you're doing are informing people that we can fix this. Yeah. It's not dire. These things are very fixable.
Yeah.
It all started with you looking through that lens. You promise me you won't stop looking through the lens?
I won't. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to get a new camera.
Here we go.
I want a medium format.
Oh, Lord.
Can I get some sponsors to do that? Give me a medium format camera.
I am so glad I got caught up. This is me getting caught up with you.
Yeah, no, I missed you.
Even though it's in this formal format.
I know.
But it's me getting caught up. You are everything to me. You always have been.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you for being on Randomly Selected. You're not going to make me cry.
I know. I'm stop looking at you. I'm stop looking at it. I ain't going to do it.
Looking up in the sky.
I know. I see the tears coming up. Oh, they coming. Oh, Mario, I missed you.
You too.
Oh.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, man. Eric's going to kill me. Oh. I want to take the moment to thank Tonika Johnson for being on the show. It really was important to me that she become one of our randomly selected folks. I'm glad it happened. And just be on the lookout. Tonika is amazing. And you can see her amazing work coming to a neighborhood near you. On the next randomly selected, it's going to get serious. No, it's not. It's going to be fun. Marcellus Reynolds is in the building. And there's so much to talk about. You're going to have to wait until the 15th. For everybody at the Silver Room and everybody listening, thank you so much for being around. This has been Randomly Selected, powered by the Silver Room. Damn it.